Hi, I'm Allie with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to show you how to make this cute little patriotic bracelet using either 8/0 or 11/0 seed beads. This is actually a pattern bracelet, and it's peyote stitch. And then I'll show you kind of the little trick to getting the wave in it. Here's just a little section that is also straight, so you can do it either way. Again, you can use either 8/0 seed beads or 11/0 seed beads. If you're first starting out seed bead wise and you're not sure how to do peyote, just pause this video, look at our peyote video, and learn how to do peyote first before starting this video. I'll go over it a little bit with you, but it'll go much faster if you learn peyote before you start doing this bracelet. For the bracelet, it's actually a bracelet designed by Gail DeVoid, and really what it is, it's very patternistic. So when you're looking at it, you want to make sure to write down what I'm going to show you, and just kind of pause the video for a second and write down your pattern for your rows. After you get going, you can tell what you're doing. You're going to look at the pattern for the first 26 or so rows, and then after that, honestly, you can get going and you'll see exactly what you need to put, because most of them are 4 wide row wise at the top and the bottom, and then 8 wide down here for your whites. So to start out, what you're looking here is just kind of pause this and write this down. Row 1, 2, use 8 gold. Row 3, 4, use 4 gold. Rows 4, 4 gold. 5 red, 6 white, 7 red, 8 white, 9 1 gold, 3 red. And just read this through the whole way. Pause the video as you're doing this so you can write this pattern here. After row 17, you're going to pick up with row 18. Row 18 is going to start 2 whites, 2 blues, proceeding to 19, 20, 21, all the way till 26. So again, write this pattern down. I'll show it one more time, that way in case you missed it. But you can pause the video at any time so you can write down these patterns, so you can get exactly which materials you need for which rows. If you find yourself really hard pressed at following a pattern, what you can do is actually put these out ahead of time and just lay them on your bead mat in rows already predetermined with the beads in 26 rows, so that way you don't have to grab as much. So again, that's kind of your pattern, and that's what we're going to be working with. We're going to start by working with 11s. The pattern itself calls for 11s. We did one in 8s because it makes it a little bit bigger. The thing that's the difference is that the 11s are going to be a little bit smaller. The 8s are going to be a little bit bigger. The 11s are going to wave more. So we're going to get started on this bracelet. So to get started with the bracelet, what I've done is I've started with a stop bead. It's an 11/0 stop bead, just in an alternating color. You can also use an off color, something that you're not using in your flag. And I'm starting with my gold color. This one here I've used silver with the 8/0s, and again I'm doing this one with 11/0s. So to start out, I've put on my stop bead, and then I've put on 8 of my gold beads. This is going to be rows 1 and 2. Whenever you start out with peyote, however many wide you're doing, that's actually going to be 2 rows at once. So I have those on. I'm going to do 4 rows of my gold beads. I pick up another gold bead, sew back through bead number 7 in the opposite direction, sewing from my needle and towards my stop bead. So the needle's going towards the stop bead. I'm going to make sure for that first row that they really sit over in place. And you're going to have 2 beads that look like they're laying right on top of one another. Keep going. Skip over bead 6 and sew through bead 5. Sew through, add a bead, sew through, skip over bead 4, sew through bead 3. So I'm just doing peyote, and I'm going to do 4 rows where I just use my gold beads, or whatever color you choose to use. When I come back now, I'm going to put on more of my gold beads in between whatever beads are sticking up. So gold bead goes on, sew through a gold bead. And I'm coming down away from my tail. When I do this bracelet, the hardest thing for me is making sure that I'm not pulling the tension too tight. When I see bead, I like to pull the tension very, very tight and make a nice tight bracelet. With this bracelet, if you pull too tight, you won't be able to create that wave, so it looks like the flag is kind of waving along. So here I have 3 rows of the gold. I'm going to do one more gold, and then I'm going to start in with my colors. When you start this bracelet, the start of it is actually just a little section of the color not having any of the blue in with it. What that's doing is it's getting that start of the wave. And I'm going to do one more row again of these gold, so it's going to end up being 4 rows of gold. Every time I'm doing a row, I'm going to be putting on and adding 4 more beads. So the first time you start out with peyote, you're adding 8 beads because you're doing 2 rows. And from now on, I'm adding 4 beads at a time. So I'm done now with my first 4 rows, and I'm going to start out making some of my pattern here. So if you're looking back at your rows here, I'm going to start out by using 4 of my red beads. Red bead goes on, and this is going to create my stripes of my bracelet. So my 4 red beads are going to go on. And then the next row, I'm going to do 4 white beads. And again, you want to make sure not to pull too tight, because if you start pulling too tight, you're really going to lose that wave. After I do my row of red, I'm going to continue with a row of white for row 6. Row 7 will be 4 more reds, and then row 8 will be 4 more whites. Proceed here with my rows of my stripes here. I'm going to start then by adding my gold that's going to create my diagonal. So here it's that silver when you're working with the 8/0s. Mine is a gold one that I'm working with. And I actually have a bracelet here that's a little bit further along that I've started with. And you can see here that it has that gold row that now we're going to be starting on. And we're going to be starting on our little blue star patch there too. So on goes a gold bead. And this is going to be for row 9. You're going to do 1 gold bead. And then you're going to do 3 of your red beads. And it's usually pretty easy once you get going to follow in line with the colors, because you'll be able to see the colors that you need to put on and the order that they need to be in. As you proceed from row 9, you're going to go row 10 is 3 white, 1 gold, 11, 1 blue, 1 gold, 2 red, 12, 2 white, 1 gold, 1 blue, 13, 2 blue, 1 gold, 1 red, 14, 1 white, 1 gold, 2 blue, 15, 2 blue, 1 red, 1 gold, 16, 1 gold, 1 white, 1 blue, 17, 2 blue, 2 red. Continuing on then with your pattern, you're going to do 18, 2 white, 2 blue, 19, 1 red, 1 blue, 2 reds, 20, 2 whites, 1 blue, 1 white, 21 through 26 is just alternating with red, white, red, white, red, white. And that's going to continue on your flags. For a size 8 or a size 7 wrist with the 8/0 beads, you are going to do your little half flag at the start, and then you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections. If you know that you have a bigger wrist than a 6.5 or a 7, you may want to do 9 sections. It's going to shrink up a little bit when you pull tight. With the 11/0 beads, the pattern calls for 9 flags, and that again is going to shrink up a little bit to an 8-inch wrist. I'm actually going to do 8 flags because my wrist is a little bit smaller, so I can wear the bracelet. And I'm already done with 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll start with my 5th row now as I go, continuing on with you as you're counting along the way and you're going through those rows. One thing that has been helpful for me is realizing that you're doing this pattern on a diagonal is the first thing to help. And then the second thing is my flag is a square here. And my little section that would be the stars, the blue section, is a square. So realizing that it's 4 wide by 4 long. So that's a little helpful hint. And then also your first row of your red here, of your red stripe, is also 4 wide. It's going to get progressively kind of wider as you go here and have your further ones going from 4 to 8 down here at the bottom, but it is that even peyote, and that kind of helps. So I know at this point I'm on a little blue section. I've already had 4 wide of my blue, so now I know it's time to start on red again. I sew down, and you can count across then and say, okay, I have my beads here, and when I look to put on the next one to know the pattern without having to look all the time at my little writing, I can say 1, 2, 3 blues, and I know I need 1 more blue in that section there, and that's going to complete that row of blues. I'm going to continue sewing. And you can see when you're working with it that I'm on my red stripe, so I'm going to add a red bead, sew through my whites. And the red and white are going to be every other. So I'm going to sew through my white beads here now, or my red beads here now. And work with it. I'm working with the peyote stitch here. When I come back up this way, I know a white goes on because I'm on my white row. Kind of kills me working with this, not pulling it super tight, but you have to keep it a little loose. It actually is going to feel a little bit like a loom bracelet because it's pretty flexible and you can see the thread a little bit. Here I'm coming over to my section here and I'm going to count again, 1, 2, 3 blues, and I know I need that 4th blue on. So through the blue. And then the next row I can see that that little blue section is finished off. So I know then that I need to continue on with another one of my colors. I'm going to continue on with a white color because it's going into the red. And I'm going to continue on then with my pattern, but that counting of 4s for the blue has really helped me keep track of where I am in my pattern. So just showing you as I'm going here, I have my flags completed, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start finishing my rows, and instead of adding that pattern, which normally here I would add a blue, I'm just going to add gold beads. So I'm going to continue with my pattern here and go down the lines, but as I come back up and my pattern ends, instead of adding other colors, I'm going to just add the gold bead in its place. So right now I'm finishing with the line just as it would normally be with my red beads. I'm going to come back up with my white beads, and then as I get along my row, it's going to mimic the other side basically with 4 rows of my gold beads. So I'm going to go up with my white again, add my gold bead, which would be normal to get my diagonal of gold, and instead of adding a blue, next I'm just going to keep adding my gold, and that's going to get and keep the pattern. So I'm going to continue going down. I'm going to kind of stay with my pattern, and then as I come back here, I'm going to come with my gold ones and finish up the whole way along the bracelet then with the gold beads in the 4 rows. And then after this, I will get ready to show you how to create the waves by adding an additional piece of thread. The last thing I'll do is kind of just talk you through the clasp. We have a lot of YouTube videos that you can check out how to add clasps to your peyote bracelets, how to add clasps to different type of loom bracelets, how to add clasps to all different styles of seed bead and bead weaving projects. So you're just going to check out one of those videos if you want some further detail to actually see it done. But I'll talk you through it and show you how, I'll tell you how I did it on the larger 8/0 bracelet, which you can mimic and use for the 11/0 bracelet as well. So I'm going to continue finishing up here with my rows of gold beads. So I'm at the end of my bracelet here. I chose to do kind of a triangular shape here with my gold beads. What you can also do is stop a little bit short here at the end with 5 of your whites instead of 8. And what that does is it just shortens that last flag so you don't see it as well. But then the beginning will look a little bit more like the end rather than 5 and 1. Either way will work, you won't really notice. And what I'm actually going to do now is kind of create those waves. You can keep a bracelet flat and straight if you want and just wear it as is. Or what I can do is I can start to create that triangle or that fold in it. So I have another needle and thread. I'm starting at my first end. And what I'm going to do is I am going to take my needle and thread, and I'm going up on an angle here, right along this first angle here, right there, right along that gold bead line. And then I'm going to come down here through this line of gold beads. So we're going to start right here, going on an angle. And what I want to do is I want to end my angle right there at that gold beads. So I'm going to start here, and you're just sewing up the bracelet on an angle Sometimes it can be a little hard. As you see, I'm using a size 10 needle. You can use a 12 if you want. It'll make it a little bit easier to go through. And I'm just sewing right on that diagonal line. And I'm going to sew up and come out that red bead. And the trick to this is you don't want to see any of your thread. So you want to make sure wherever you're sewing, all of those threads are going to be hidden. When I come out the top here, I'm going to sew down my gold bead line. And again, you kind of just wiggle on through there. Just kind of sew right down through those golds. Sometimes you can get the whole way right away. Sometimes you have to kind of stop halfway through and pull the needle out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull nice and tight at this side. And I'm going to create another angle. So I'm going up at a V again. And I'm going to come up my V here, take it down to the other side, and go up the V again. So I'm going to take my angle here. I'm coming right on this angle, going through red, white, and going right up to the top here. Right again next to my gold line. I'm going to start to pull tight. As I start to pull tight, you can see here that creation of that angle. And what's going on here is starting to pull that really tight. First couple little pulls and going up and then down the golds, up again through the middle of my flag, down the golds. You can see how much that wave is creating. So I'm going to continue going again on an angle through red, white, red, white, red, white. And that can help you too to kind of keep track of where you're going, is that you know that you're going in the color direction through the opposite colors. We're going to pull that nice and tight. And as you pull, you create your wave again. As you can see, my flags are starting to wave in the wind. Down that gold line. And you're just going to continue doing this back and forth throughout the whole entire bracelet with that extra strand. And every time you go through another section, you give a nice tight pull. And that's going to tighten up the section before it and start to do that wave. So I'm going to continue doing that, going through the angle and then down through the golds the whole way till the end of my bracelet, and then I'll show you how to finish it off. So the last thing to finish up the bracelet is to decide on what type of clasp. Again, like I said, what you can do is you can look online at our other YouTube videos about how to add clasps onto project, either loom projects or seed bead projects. Also at the end of most of the videos we'll go into detail. Because this is such a long video and it's very pattern oriented, I'm just going to explain how I did the clasp here. So to do simply, what I did was use the tail end of my thread, and I came back through 2 beads, added a loop back through that same bead that I was coming out of, back through again. Anytime you're doing a loop, make sure that you go through it multiple times, 2 or 3 times. Brought it over here and tied it off somewhere along the end. On the other side, with this one, and as well as some of my other bracelets, you can use whatever you like. You can use a button, you can use a bead, you can use any type of bar clasp. But on the other side, just to make it nice and easy, I basically mimicked this other end here, but instead of making a loop, I came out with a straight line, put 3 beads on, then my pearl, 1 bead at the top, back down through the pearl, back down through those 3 beads, over to the next bead and circled around. Did the same thing 3 times in order to tie it up and then make it really, really tight, since you're going to be using a lot of tension on that. Brought the thread back through and tied it off on the side. Again, anytime I'm adding thread, anytime I do any knots on the sides, I am a gluer. I do use a little tiny bit of glue, so you'll see with this one here, I had to add thread about 2 times. I'm going to go back and glue some of those points where I did the knots, even though I did feed the thread back through a little bit. I just like it as a little precaution. So hopefully you have a fun and patriotic time while you do the American flag bracelet. So thanks for watching. Check us out on Facebook and watch our other YouTube videos. Visit our stores if you're in one of the areas. If not, visit us online at thebeadco.com. Thanks for watching.